Hello, and welcome to this special interview, which we also consider a special edition of Newsmaker, which is an interview with the Chief Economic Advisor to the Imo State Government, Professor Kenneth Amaeshi. Professor Amaeshi is a professor of the University of Edinburgh, European University Institute. Prof, most of the time, lives outside Nigeria and visits from time to time to share his ideas and expertise under these services to the Imo State government. So, Prof, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and good evening to you and your listeners.
Thank you. Prof, we are very much aware that as a Chief Economic Advisor to the Imo State government, you have initiated a lot of programs, activities, and if you like, trainings for youths and some other people in Imo State in a bid to bring Imo State at par with other parts of the country economically. So can you tell us, how has it been doing such assignments in Imo State from where you are?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. My office is very new. I started in January, and since then we've been trying to see how we can explore opportunities in Imo State. Sometimes, or most of the time, we may not be aware that we are sitting on opportunities. So we decided to create what we call the Imo Economy Study Network. And the idea of the network is to bring together the academia in Imo State in particular, to draw them closer to government and policy making. You would appreciate that the academics do a lot of research, both the faculty members and the students. So we anticipate, should have a very good understanding of the economy. They also know where the opportunities are. So by bringing them together through the study network, we'll be able to get closer to homegrown ideas and solutions. But in addition to that, we are also considering business opportunities. These opportunities can be for Imo citizens. It might also be for people who are looking to invest in Imo State. So we're looking at foreign outside investors. But particularly if you want to address the challenges of unemployment in the state, how do we then make people more self-reliant? So if you look at the unemployment situation in the state, I guess you would agree with me that there are many people who are not employed, or those that are employed might also be underemployed. So what we're trying to do is to open up opportunities and encourage people to think outside the box. So instead of looking for paid employment, can they also do things for themselves by being self-reliant? So these are some of the things we're trying to do so far by creating awareness of these opportunities. And we run a fortnightly webinar where we also air it through Orient FM and other social media platforms. They are also recorded, and we have YouTube channels for those who are unable to listen to these programs. They can go back to these pages and listen to them. So unless you want me to talk about any specific webinar or opportunities we've looked into, I'm happy to.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. You just done what I expected you to do, just an overview of probably some of the things we're going to talk about this evening, and specific areas I will ask you much later. However, I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning of the program. I am Innocent Igwe. And like I said, this is a special edition of Newsmaker. Newsmaker is also an interview program, current affairs interview program on this station. And that is why today we are featuring the Chief Economic Advisor to the governor, to the Imo State government. And Prof is also talking to us from outside the country. That is why we didn't start as at the time initially promoted, because of some technicalities. And now that we've established the network, and we have started. So we move on, Prof. You're welcome again to the program. Now, you told us a lot about, or you gave us a background about the Imo Economy Study Network, TIES, which was initiated by you. Is there any aspect or what actually led to this very great initiative of yours, particularly the intentions and the benefits of this program to the people of Imo State and probably others who have been sharing or benefiting from your presentations over through the programs?
Yeah, thank you very much. As I mentioned earlier on, the point is to look at opportunities in Imo State. We started from there. So, but for you also to understand these opportunities, it's also good to understand the nature of the Imo economy. So somebody might look at Imo State and say Imo State is about oil and gas because we have large gas reserve. Another person might look at it and say Imo State is all about education because we have a good number of higher education institutions. Some of us may also think of it as a hospitality sector. I mean, it's the hub of hospitality, especially in the Southeast. So there are different ways one can articulate the Imo economy. And I would say, man, you are correct, irrespective of how you look at it. But within these descriptions, are there also opportunities for the everyday common person to participate in? So how do we then narrow down or break down the economy and the opportunities in it to enable everyone participate? Because the governor and is all about carrying everyone along. If you look at his 3R strategy, which is about reconstruction, reconciliation, it's about, and also reorientation. So it's about making sure no one is left behind. It's also about being inclusive as much as possible, which is also at the heart of the sustainable development agenda. So all we're trying to do is to find a way of making these opportunities accessible to everyone. And we've looked at, say, for example, opportunities in the property sector. We have looked at opportunities in the digital economy. We looked at opportunities in retailing. You know, retailing is a big business. How can our people participate and benefit from this? We've even looked at opportunities in transportation and logistics. And recently also we looked at opportunities in music and opportunities in movies. So these are things that sometimes may sound very far-fetched, but when you look at them critically, you can see that they present opportunities for everyone. And that's what we're trying to do with this program.
Okay, Prof, when you talk about making, exposing or telling people about the opportunities available in the Imo economy and making these opportunities available, I am a bit at a loss. How do you make it available? Are you providing some what they might call some in the industrial sector, what they call tax holidays, free rent, and so on and so forth? So how do you make this opportunity available to the investors that may want to invest in Imo State?
That's a very good question, but as you would appreciate, information is key, and people also say knowledge is power.
Oh, sure.
So what we do here is tell people about these opportunities. So let me give you an example. We had one on retailing where we got some people from the supermarkets in Imo State. And if I ask you now, how much egg or how many eggs or chicken do you think are produced from Imo State, right? So, but these supermarkets, they sell these things. So even if you think about local produce, how do we get them into the supermarkets? Garden egg, for example, and some of the things we produce locally. So the information there is very critical because if you're a farmer in a rural village, you may not be able to see how you can participate in this economy. But it could be that you sell vegetables or you produce vegetables. There is a way you can take the vegetables you produce to the supermarket. That information in itself can be enabling to a farmer in a rural area. So it's not about tax holidays at this point. It may come to that where a major investor is coming in and the government thinks it's worthwhile giving a tax holiday. But remember here that there are different categories of investors and entrepreneurs. So what we want to do is to break things down, provide the information so that everyone, the person, the common person can understand and appreciate how he or she can participate in the economy. Another example would be the digital economy. Many people have their WhatsApp, for example, or their phones, but they don't know that they can do more with the phones. So if you sell mama put, for example, or you are a shoemaker, you can advertise through your mobile phones, through your WhatsApp messages. So the WhatsApp messages are not just there for people to chat and talk to each other, but the WhatsApp software or app can also be a great tool for marketing. So when you bring these things down to the level that people understand, they can now see the opportunities. Even the idea of recording some things, comedy, and placing them on YouTube or other social media platform can earn you some money. But again, people may not be aware of these things, and that's what we're trying to do. So the key thing here is about information, and the information is critical, and we also believe that knowledge is power.
Okay, Prof, I would like us to talk a little more about this aspect before we move into other areas of the interview. And you think in Imo State and probably in most parts of Nigeria, you will know that you can agree with me that production or getting into business of any form is not very easy, especially in lately because of the tight economic situation of things and the difficulties people go through to have any little thing done for themselves, including power. And so with all these challenges and difficulties all over the place, do you think that people will just take those information and begin to buy into them, despite the stubborn challenges, I'll call them, that are facing everybody right in the country right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good question. But they also say, again, I try to use aphorism. People say, I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. Right? Mm. When we are challenged, we begin to think of ways of overcoming those challenges. So innovation is critical. And also, there are basic needs. If you think about basic human needs, which include housing, shelter, right? Food, clothing. So once you plug into these lines of business, it will be difficult not to, you wake up, you eat, you need clothing, you need housing, for example. So as much as there are difficulties and challenges, but those difficulties and challenges can themselves provide opportunities. And again, it's the case of whether the glass is half full or half empty. But I completely agree with you in terms of the enabling environment where business and entrepreneurs will need to flourish. And those things are very important and required. So if you think about electricity, for example, of course, the government needs to do something about it, but it also requires a lot of investment. And Imo State, good enough, has gas in abundance. So it might also be an opportunity for investors who want to convert the gas to power. So to come into the state and explore such opportunities, because there you see the demand. But in some instances, you also find some entrepreneurs who say, give me energy or electricity before I come in. So it becomes the case of chicken and egg conundrum. But you might also provide opportunities for what you may call impact investors. So impact investors come to create change. Impact investors come to create positive impact. And that's what the name Prof actually suggests. So depending on how you look at it, I think my point here is to say that, yes, I agree with you that there are challenges, but these challenges themselves can also induce us to think about creative ways of solving them. And in solving them, we create business opportunities. Entrepreneurship is about identifying opportunities where many probably wouldn't see such opportunities. And that's what we're trying to do here, because information is critical in the entrepreneurial journey.
Okay, thank you again, Prof. Now, let me take you now to the question of recent approval for trading. I'm sure you are very much is part of your contributions, if I should say that. Recently, the governor, Hope Uzodinma, approved the training of 300,000 Imo youths on digital skills. I hear that was following your memo, joint memo from you and the Honorable Commissioner for Labor and Productivity, and which government approved and so on. And now we are to have that training for Imo youth on digital skills. So what is the intention of this training skills, and how do you think it will benefit Imo youths and those who participate in it?
Yes, a very good question again. If you look at our situation in Imo State, unemployment is high.
Very high.
And I can give
very high, very alarming if you ask me.
Yes. If I ask you now to think about, say, 5 to 10 companies that employ at least 200 people each in Imo State, I bet you will struggle to name these companies. So in other words, Imo State has very few companies that employ up to 200 people each, okay? So, but if I asked you to do that in Lagos, Lagos has many companies that employ more than 200 people. Port Harcourt or River State also has such companies. So Imo State, apart from government institutions, you will struggle. There is also a recent statistic I saw, I think it was from Sweden, that says that Imo State has about 1.3 million micro businesses. These are they're not small businesses, they're micro businesses. And they generate about 1.4 million jobs, which means that literally every micro enterprise probably creates 1.1 jobs, right? So in a way, we are just saying that they are, one man or one person businesses, right? So which means that due to the high level of unemployment in the state, we need to find new ways. There is the data that says that Imo State may have up to 1 million people that are either unemployed or underemployed. That means that for us to solve that problem, you need about, say, 100 companies, okay, each of them employing about 10,000 people. You can see the magnitude, right?
Yeah, very.
So that is near impossible, because if you look at all the banks in Imo State, I don't think they employ up to 3,000 people, all the banks in Imo State. So we, in this case, need to find creative ways, innovative ways of solving this unemployment problem. Because what happens is that our young people graduate from universities, they end up carrying CVs up and down. So how do we empower them to be self-reliant, to be self-sufficient? So one way to do that, which we found, is through the digital economy, in connecting our people, our young people, to the digital economy. And the digital economy is very global. So in this case, you're able to transcend the limitations of space and geography, and you can plug straight into the global economy. The other thing also is that the digital economy doesn't require, it's not energy intensive as you would find manufacturing or even agriculture to be. So with minimal energy or power, you can connect your phones, you can connect your devices like laptops. So even solar energy can power such devices. So the energy requirement is quite low. So having considered these factors, we thought that it would be, the digital economy will be a nice way to empower our youths. That way they can stay in Owerri or Lo or Kigwe or anywhere in Imo State and offer their services to firms in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. I'll give you an instance. I have somebody who does my graphic work. Anywhere I am, whether I'm in Florence, in Italy, or Edinburgh, in the UK, I engage him. He's in Lagos, and he does all my graphic work, and he's very good. So the things he produces can compete very well with any other produced in either Florence or Edinburgh, right? But he is far cheaper than what I would pay in Europe to get that work done. Okay. So there are many people like him who can benefit, sell their skills and services to the global market and earn decently in Nigeria. So you may find somebody who may earn up to, say, $500 a month or $800 a month by simply helping companies outside Nigeria maintain their website. It's as simple as that. So there are cases as we speak of people who are in one hotel or the other, and they use those as workstations and they are making money. So how do we bring more of our youths into this economy so that they are empowered and prepared for the labor market and for the global digital economy? So that's the essence. And the governor saw the need and also recognized that that's the way to go. And he quickly accepted the proposal and constituted a 7-person committee. And we have met a few times now. So, and he has tasked us to deliver this as soon as possible because he knows that speed is of an essence. So that's where we are. That's the thinking behind it. And we are working very hard to translate that into practice.
Okay, still on that, Prof. I know maybe you are still trying to fine-tune the packaging of the training and all that. If you don't mind, can you tell us what will be in the packaging? For instance, in the course of the training or after the training, are you going to somehow empower the participant, probably provide them with some tools, digital gadgets, laptops, iPads, or even tablets to enable them, discharge, make effective use of what they have learned? Because some of them may not really have these facilities to, hit the ground running after the training.
Yes, I agree with you, but we have to be very entrepreneurial here. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, the good thing about it is it's not something limited to the government, because there is always this tendency to think that the government will solve our problems. There is a place for the market, right? So imagine a situation whereby the government says we want to train 300,000 youths on digital skills. So we would anticipate that there will be private trainers. People, I remember back in the days when you had computer schools, right? Where people learned how to use desktop and learn Corel Draw and all sorts. So those, it's possible again to say, well, we want to make Imo State the digital hub of West Africa or Africa. So we need to then build the ecosystem where we have private providers. So the government can afford to pay for the people, for the youth to be trained. But on one hand, you have the private actors participating, providing the devices and the workstations and treating those as businesses. And on the other hand, then we're able to find private actors again who are able to link these youths after their training to these opportunities abroad, because many of them, we suspect, may not have the social capital or the linkages that will take them or give them projects from outside Nigeria. So there are also private firms or entrepreneurs who can help make that happen. So the government, to a large extent, will support and probably pay for the training, but we also need different actors to come on board to support that. But the government may not also do it alone, because once the government has shown interest, or once the government shows interest in this space, there are also other organizations and even private firms and corporate foundations that are interested in empowering youth that can also collaborate with the government. I think in a nutshell, what the government is doing at this point is to signal to the world that we are ready, and then using that signal to invite interested parties to collaborate with the state to achieve this. So the participants will be equipped in terms of the knowledge and the skills. They will also be connected to opportunities. Through these opportunities, they make money and provide for themselves and become truly independent. And what we want to do at the heart of this project is the notion of freedom. We want to empower our youth that they are free. And Amartya Sen, a famous economist, described poverty as lack of freedom. So even if you have money and you are not free, you are still poor. So, but how can we empower our youth so that they are truly free and live the kind of life they would like to? That's what we're trying to do here. And it's not just the sole responsibility of the government. It requires many actors, NGOs, foundations, international organizations working with Imo State to achieve this goal.
Okay, Prof, thank you very much. But I want to say that although the number of trainees approved for now is 300,000, and I believe even though it's going to go a long way, but certainly is going to be oversubscribed. I'm just saying that because I know what the situation is right here. So while you think of that number and while you plan for that number, and at the point of receiving applicants or recruiting those who will participate in this, are you going to have, think of or make provision for a situation whereby it is surely or overtly oversubscribed, like we're envisaging, because of the level of unemployment here in the state?
That's a fair question. I mean, we are starting from the view that give and take, you may have about between 1 million or say 1.2 million to 1.5 million unemployed people. So the statistics is still very much contested by the state government and State Bureau of Statistics, because the National Bureau of Statistics has its own data as well. So, but without getting into the politics in quotes of the data or the statistics, but between us, we can identify up to 20 odd people that are unemployed at this point in time. So it's an experience we are conversant with. So the 300,000 wasn't just an ad hoc number. It's based on the fact that if you assume a multiplier effect of 5, for example, so that means if you train 300,000, you have a multiplier effect of 5, you're probably reaching up to 1.5 million.
1.5 million. Okay.
Yeah. So, and given that it's also digital skill, you don't expect everyone in Imo State to be a digital skill professional, right? Or a digital professional playing that space. There are also people who want to do other things. So, but we are hoping that with this number, we'll be able to stimulate the market to the point that Imo State can transform and become a hub, because that's the goal here. If Imo State become the hub of digital talent, then it will make a lot of difference. Then the other thing, which probably is implicit in your question, is how do we make this inclusive? So one way that the governor and the cabinet is thinking of is to also make sure that every local government is properly represented. Probably you may want to divide the 300,000 based on each local. I mean, there are about 27 local governments. And if you want every local government to say produce, is it 10,000, right? So 10,000 per local government is 270,000, right? So, and 10,000 is not a small number. So when it comes to digital. And the other thing also to bear in mind is that digital skills or talents require a lot of passion, a lot of interest, and also a lot of tenacity. So it's not a walk in the park. So to get 300,000.
Yes, I agree with you, Prof.
Yeah, so that's basically the thinking there. So it will be more than enough for us. And we're hoping that
at least for a start.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Prof. Now, with the situation of unemployment in the country and with reference to Imo State, are there other programs you are packaging from your office? Because when we see you as the chief economic advisor to the government of Imo State, in fact, we expect you to solve all the economic problems in Imo State, even though you are not God. but we expect you to think everything about the economy, employment, earnings, development, and so on. And I think it's a very tall order. So what other things are you packaging from your office to help solve our unemployment issue and, of course, create jobs, more jobs, and a lot of more jobs?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I wish I had the magic wand there, but yeah, correct. What we also need to appreciate that this is kind of a very gradual process. So economic change, economic development takes time. So the other thing we are working on through the support of the governor is we're trying to develop our industrial policy. Okay, so if you look back in time, I can't think of any industrial policy in the recent past. So we want to revisit that and look at Imo State. Yes, we have had industries like avoto poultry or other palm or Imo shoes and so on and so forth, Imo rubbers. But to what extent are those industries still relevant for today's world? Those that are still relevant, we will pursue. Agriculture can create a lot of jobs, but the other thing is also, Imo State is constrained in terms of land. So how many other palms can we create? We are limited by space, but there could also be other opportunities in the value chain, agricultural value chain that people can participate in. So the industrial policy will also look at emerging sectors, say, for example, the digital space or renewable energy. People are also thinking about fabrication as a sector that can benefit many Imolites. So that's what we're doing in the space of industrial policy. And it's also supported by UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And hopefully before long, we'll bring that document to the public. We've gone through a series of consultations, and the draft is being currently finalized and need to be launched before the end of the year. The other thing also that the governor has accepted and is supporting to a large extent is the development of the development of a development plan for the state. So we are looking at about 25 years. So the governor has accepted and has engaged PricewaterhouseCoopers to work with the Imo State Ministry of Finance with the support from our office to develop a 25-year development plan for the state, which should be quite unique because here we are looking at a generation. So it's not just about the tenure of this government, but also about a generation. And it will also require it to be firmly embedded in our laws and legislations so that they will stand the test of time.
Okay, Prof, it's good you're talking about a development plan, and because the unemployment situation we have today didn't just emerge in the last 1 or 2 years. It's a cumulative effect of neglect over the years, and it's good. The present government is thinking of planning for the states, at least having a development plan for 25 years and so on and so forth. And that will make for consistent and consecutive planning and development in Imo State. And I believe it will help in solving the unemployment issue. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're correct, but what matters is what I may describe as a holistic thinking or systemic, as well as systematic thinking here, because things have to be properly joined up. So if you think about development plans or economic plans, sometimes we tend to borrow things from abroad and we want to implement them in Nigeria. And that's partly our problem. So, but what we're trying to do here is to look inward. Say, for example, our industrial policy, instead of being investor-led, because many industrial policies will be looking at, oh, how do we bring investors into a state, for example, a country? So, but you may have an investor who comes in, makes a lot of money, but creates few jobs, right?
Yeah.
So that's not the kind of investor we want. As much as we want money, but we also want investors that will come with jobs. So exactly. In our own case, in the industrial policy, we are not taking the conventional way of looking at industrial policy being investor-led, but ours is employment-led, right? So therefore, we're looking at those sectors that have the potential to create jobs. And that way we can solve the problem of unemployment. And when our people are fully engaged and fully employed, the economy will definitely grow. So, and we also seen that there is a link between some of the challenges we are having in the Southeast in particular, are probably linked to what you may call economic marginalization or economic injustice, right? So, but through job creation, through employment-led industrialization policies, we may be able to tackle some of these issues. So when people are fully engaged, then they are likely to be much more fulfilled, because a hungry man is an angry man.
Of course, everywhere. Okay, Prof. Now, I know your office is saddled with so many things, economic, and like I said before, we look at your office as one that can or may provide the magic wand where possible. And in that case, we are also looking about workshops and seminars and avenues for skills acquisition, apart from the digital skills you earlier talked about. Are you also thinking of arranging or providing opportunities for people to learn and acquire certain skills, tailoring, masonry, what do you call it now? All those tiling and so on and so forth, because that is where that is the kind of skills that is really lacking now in most of our youth, because a lot of them are not really going into these areas, and so many people come from outside to do jobs like that in Imo State. So, are you thinking of any way of making youths learn some of these skills, apply it through government arrangement?
As you would imagine now, I'm not the only one who is doing work related to skill development in the state. So we have the Ministry of Labor and Productivity, and under that ministry, you have skill acquisition. You also have entrepreneurship. So that ministry is very much involved. You also have the Ministry of Science and Technology, and there they're also very much keen in promoting technical and vocational education and training. So there are different parts of the state that are contributing to this. You also have the Imo State Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises Agency, and they're also helping, especially small businesses or micro businesses. If you remember, about, say, toward the end of last year, there was something about fashion or I think factory for tailors, right, or garments that was launched in Imo State. Yes. And the DG in charge has been working very hard with the federal government to actualize that. So there are different things happening, and it's not just my office, but like I said, it requires holistic thinking and collaboration. One thing that is very clear is that the government is very keen to ensure that no one is left behind, and is doing his best or her best to ensure that the Imo citizens are all beneficiaries of this government.
Okay, Prof. Now I want you to also visualize Imo State, or let me say project where you want to see Imo State in the next 2-3 years. Assuming we sustain this arrangement from your office, exposing opportunities of Imo economy to everybody that wants or that can come in to invest, and of course going on with the training programs, capacity building among the youths. Assuming, or let me take it that government is going to sustain this tempo through your, supported by you and other experts and the other agencies and ministries in this area. So, where do we take Imo to in the next? Let me not project too far. In the next 2 years, where do we find Imo State?
Okay, I mean, I think again it's a good question, but as they say, a day is long in politics, isn't it? So we take it one day at a time. At the moment, I'm focused on building a solid foundation for the Imo economy. And that foundation can now determine and inform what happens in future. So if you have a solid foundation, you can build anything on it. So we want to create a strong economic institutions, build a solid talent base. So if you want to make Imo State the digital hub of Africa, it's not something that happens overnight. So I would like to say in the next 12 months, 24 months, we have trained enough people in Imo State that we can all be proud of to say that they will constitute a good number that will help strengthen the ecosystem, create the ecosystem, strengthen the ecosystem of digital economy in Imo State, and then provide a solid foundation upon which other things can happen. The digital economy presents a lot of opportunities we can't really underestimate going forward. And I think Imo State has a good chance to benefit from that.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think this is where we shall end the program today to enable us to take the news at 6 p.m. I want to thank you, Professor Kenneth Amaeshi, Chief Economic Advisor to the Imo State government. Of course, Prof is of the University of Edinburgh European University Institute. Prof, once more, it's my pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
I am Innocent Igwe. Goodbye.